The Outcasts of Poker Flat, The Luck of Roaring Camp, and Other Stories by Bret Harte. Introduction. Curiously, the man who did the most to popularize the tale of the Wild West was not a hard-bitten frontiersman at all. He was an Easterner who spent much of his life outside of the United States. Bret Harte, the creator of the Western story, was born Francis Bret Harte in 1836 at Albany, New York, the son of a professor of Greek. Young Bret read widely in his father's library and might well have become a scholar himself, but for the fact that his father died when Bret was only 9. His mother, like many other Easterners, decided to immigrate to California, and in 1853, her 16-year-old son decided to join her. California in the 1850s was a wonderful place for a writer to grow up. Young Bret supported himself with a variety of jobs as a teacher, miner, printer, editor, and finally a magazine writer. His early stories were not particularly exciting, but they were fast-moving and full of character sketches. His first book, Condensed Novels, appeared in 1867 and was a collection of parodies of such writers as Cooper, Dickens, Dumas, and Hugo, the very novelists who would influence Harte's mature short story style. Slowly, the young writer began to make a name for himself as an important regional writer. In 1868, Harte was given the editorship of the Overland Monthly, the first magazine of any literary importance on the Pacific Coast. As a bonus to his subscribers, the second issue carried the story The Luck of the Roaring Camp. This story, about the effect of nativity on a primitive community, was published anonymously, and it appeared against the better judgment of the proofreader and the publisher, who deemed it indecent, irreligious, and improper. Possibly because of this reception, the story was a considerable success. The next year, The Outcasts of Poker Flat appeared in the Overland Monthly, and this study of character in crisis was immediately recognized as the classic it is. Still, there were many Westerners who felt that Harte's tales, which were gaining a readership in the East, would discourage immigration. Bret Harte continued to write about life in the days of the gold rush long after he left the state of California. He lived and wrote in New York from 1871 to 1878. And then he was appointed a U.S. consul in Germany and in Scotland. To support himself and his family, he worked in England from 1885 to his death there in 1902, writing hundreds of stories, some good, some bad, about pioneers in California. Bret Harte's stories are important because they deal with a new subject in a new style. Looking around him, the author was attracted to the rough life of miners and gamblers. Like O. Henry, Mark Twain, and even Dumman Runyon, he wrote realistically and affectionately about everyday people. Harte's people happened to live in isolated pockets of humanity called Roaring Camp, Red Dog, Poker Flat, and Sandy Bar, where the highest cultural achievement is the weekly newspaper, and the event of the week is the arrival of a visitor from outside. Harte wrote realistically, but his realism is very romantic. He described imaginative and irresistible characters. He constructed exciting plots, and he sympathized with those people fate singled out to die in snowfalls or floods. Hart is an American Charles Dickens, for he has Dickens' human weakness for absurd detail, audacious humor, outrageous dialogue, and dialect. Like Dickens, too, Hart understood and forgave his fellow man. This is why Jack Hamilton, John Oakhurst, Yuba Bill, and dozens of other characters from Asia, Europe, and the Americas who find themselves living side by side in the California Sierras are exciting to read about today. It is these people, Bret Hart's creations, who live dangerously in today's Wild West novels and Western films. John Robert Colombo. Next chapter soon. Thank you.